Dhyanamoolam Guru Murti, Puja Moolam Guru Param, Mantra Moolam Guru Vakyam, Moksha Moolam Guru Kripa. Adorations to Surya Narayan. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Om Bhur Bhuvasvaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Naha Prachodayat. Alright. Namaskar, Namaste, and Sitaram, and welcome to Mandir again, where we come to energize ourselves, to spiritualize ourselves, to take us from that waking up with that sleepiness, and we come to this place where we transcend all limitations. Our mind, our thoughts break their bonds. We're not attached to this elusive world. Our mind expands in all directions. Our consciousness go beyond limitations. We find ourselves to be in a great, beautiful, wonderful world. Talents, faculties come alive, and we find ourselves to be a far greater person than we ever dreamed to be. But when we have that guru that is guiding us, that spiritual power, for BHARAT SEVASHRAM saying, Swami Parameshananda would have said, me, my power, and my ashram are inseparable. So anyone who comes in the contact with the ashram will get the benefit of that divine power, that consciousness. And so many have got that blessings of getting that power. Devotees from all over the world, they are getting that power, that energy, that divine energy. So their lives would not be in sorrow and suffering, but they will be in a place where it's always happiness. Krishna Bhagwan, I love Krishna Bhagwan so much, because really Sanatan Dharma, this eternal religion, is all in that Bhagavad Gita of ours. And let us chant some Bhagavad Gita, so this way we reflect on ourselves. Om Yagyartat Karmano Anyatra Lokoyam Karma Bandhana Taratam Karma Kaunteya Mukta Sangha Samachara Tapas Vibhyodiko Yogi Jnani Bhyopi Matotika Karmi Diko Yogi Tasmat Yogi Bhavarjana Sarvadharmam Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhya Moksha Swami Masuchaha. This morning I want to talk about the power, unlimited power when you're in relationship with such divine energy coming from consciousness. That we are traveling all over the country of India, and Swamiji Buddhanand, he would have asked me, Maharaj, you need to write, because you speak very eloquently, and also you have so much experience traveling with me and going all over the place, that you should write about what you've experienced coming to India. But Swamiji, in that something egotistic? No, Buddha and Swamiji say that what your experience is, you have to share. You have to share with everyone. So we were in Bombay Ashram, and he says, okay, I have this yellow pad, and you get a pen, and you start writing. And lo and behold, I start writing around 7 in the afternoon, took a break for our tea and meals, and then start writing, and wrote through the whole night. And I hear the morning bell, 3:30 in the morning, RT is being, and Mandir is open in Bombay. And I stopped and I went there. And then I continued writing, and it continued. And you could see that power, that energy, that feeling of exhilaration was coming, and the thoughts were flowing. And whatever I experienced, I wrote it in a book that is called The Making of an American Yogi by Swami Parameshananda. And when I was through with that, again, I was talking that, Swamiji, when I was in New York, that Swami Vidyanand was telling me how Swami Purnanandaji would have started to compose the Bhagavad Gita, but not by chapters, but by topic, meaning that Swami Purnanandaji wanted to group slokas from the Gita pertaining to specific topics. And he says, well, you're going to have to continue, you're going to have to write that Gita. And within 3 months, I was able to do it. But there is a science to writing books, that you must visualize the end product. And I learned that from my schooling, that you do the cover, front and back, and then you put some paper inside, and you hold the book and say, this is my finished book. And when you do that, you could see there's no obstacles now, no challenges that will weaken you. And I started writing, and the book went like this, that I started out by doing the Gita Dhyanam. Dhyana Moolam Om Partaya Pratiboditam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitam Ritavarshinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Amba Tvam Manusantatani Bhagavad Gita Bhavadveshinim. And when I start chanting that and I put it down as the first invocation, then you could see the channels are opening up. Krishna Bhagwan is giving that his blessings. And then I started, and then I looked at it and I said, well, what are the different aspects of Krishna Bhagwan? And the first one was consciousness. And I assembled all the slokas that pertaining to consciousness. And the exercise was so exhilarating, because then you see how it starts flowing, and the universe has been collaborating with me now. And then what is God like? Consciousness, number one. Number two, universal form, Virat Roop. Number three, individual soul. Number four, incarnations and demigods. Number five elements and the brilliance in nature. So these are the 5 aspects of God. But we only know Krishna Bhagwan, the ritualistic Hinduism, know Krishna Bhagwan as the Murti. That's the incarnations of Vishnu Bhagwan. That's the one we know. But we have to lift ourselves up to that state of consciousness. And we do that when we see nature. Because the 5 elements, Krishna Bhagwan would have said, Bhumi Rapo Analo Vayu Kamano Buddhirevacha Ahankariti Yanme Binna Prakati Ashtada. Krishna Bhagwan would have said that, Arjuna, these 5 elements came from me, consciousness. And this morning, let us worship these Krishna Bhagwan as the 5 elements. Let us worship God as the 5 elements. Mother Earth, water, fire, air, and space. And how beautiful that is when we can worship God in what's around us. And this is our mandir this morning. These 5 deities are here. And of course, I always say, when I say these things over and over, then it gives me that sense of feeling. Because we cannot say anything higher than that. I like to stick at the higher level, as I'm a Swamiji, and I understand. I went through the ritualistic side of Hinduism, and now, with the grace of the Guru, Swami Parameshananda, I can relate to this consciousness. So when I speak to you, please pardon me, and I want to lift you up to this level, because this is the goal of our life, self-realization. When we lift ourselves that conscious level, then we are that God realized state. Imagine if we reach that state, all of us. But we know it takes some time, but a human effort has to be there. And so these 5 elements are in this mandir this morning. We're worshipping them, and they're in us. So let us see that ourselves are the lower nature of God. But Krishna Bhagavan would have said, but my consciousness goes, because without my consciousness, the original form, there cannot be life in us. So Krishna Bhagavan is giving us life. And this is what we want this morning. That life, we have to think about it. That divine force that is animating these 5 elements in the body. And what a beautiful body, how it's constructed. Imagine how we, in all our studies, academic studies, you know what we do? We study what Krishna Bhagavan, what consciousness has manifested itself into. The 5 elements. You want to be a doctor, you want to be a scientist, you want to be a teacher, you want to be an archaeologist. Whatever you want to do, you really have to study the lower nature of God. But this morning, let us try to study the higher nature, this consciousness. And we do that through transcending our base nature. And this morning, try to do, I tell you about yoga. Yoga is so powerful because what it does, it takes us from the innate nature in us, that laziness, overactiveness, and goodness, the 3 gunas. It takes us out of that state and it puts us on the state of consciousness. So this should be your routine. Otherwise, devotees, if you don't do this and you continue living the life, just arcing out a living and not living a life. Because many of us, we're so struggled, where are we going to get money from, where are we going to get a proper place to live, or how are we going to educate the children. All of these things, this is just making a living. But we have to live a life. And when we live a life, it means that we have no limitations. And when we're in the control of such great souls as Krishna Bhagavan, the Christ, the Buddha, Swami Parameshananda ji, then we're blessed. Think that we're blessed. I bring you the blessings of these great gurus this morning. And now we're looking at these ducks, they're here and they're making noise in the water. Here's the Lord Shiva Lingam. So this morning it's a simple message. Don't be contented with just making a living, but live a life. Try to find out try to delve into this thing, what is keeping me alive. Because we are always thinking about our body, our mind, and intellect and ego. But now we always have to think now, what is this thing that's keeping us alive? Dig into it and come under the great guidance of a spiritual master like Swami Parameshananda ji, and whoever that spiritual master that you worship. With these, let us chant a few rounds of Guru Mantra. Om Sri Guru Shivaya Namah. 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 Isn't it beautiful that our audience is nature, the ducks and the geese and the birds, and also the water, the lingam is energizing us. I like the sound of this lingam. Hari Om, Shanti, Shanti, Hari Om.